Hello everyone, welcome to Adrian Snary Unlearning, and today I'm joined by Heath Daly. Thank you very much, Heath, for coming on the podcast.
My pleasure.
Many of you will know the Raw Kitchen in Fremantle. It's a, can we say, iconic?
You can. I can't, but you can.
But I'm free
By
to.
all means, yeah.
An iconic, what do you call it? Is it a restaurant?
It's a restaurant. I call it a movement, Adrian.
Of course.
I
Sure.
do.
Yeah.
And no, it's a restaurant, but like it's kind of a hub if it's anything, because we've got retail, we've got the yoga, we've got the workshops, the lectures.
Yeah. You do a lot of different things, which really draw a lot of different people in.
Yeah, but for me, I call it the tuck shop of the revolution. That's what I call it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're a restaurant, but we're showcasing a lot of stuff there.
Sure, yeah, and what you're doing really is fantastic. It's just
Thanks,
phenomenal, yeah. So always just get like great joy going in there. It's just something about the atmosphere of the place, the people,
Well,
the
it's
staff.
people. It's the people that create the atmosphere. Well, people, but like, man, you get high ceilings.
Yeah,
you get epic atmosphere.
Sure.
It's just sacred geometry. The first thing when we went in there and had a look at it, first thing we did was climb upstairs, get into the roof, see if we could kick that roof out.
Right, okay, yeah. So what was there before you went in there in this place?
Gym Kid. Shoe
Oh, that's
store.
right. It was, yeah.
Before that, it was some other shoe store.
Right.
Rivers.
Okay.
Warehouse outlet.
Yeah, right, okay. Yeah, that's right. I remember that. I used to go there a fair bit when I was a teenager, like growing up playing basketball and like Gym
man.
Kids.
Yeah,
was a place
everyone's
to
been
go.
up there to get their football boots.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But that was it. Our whole philosophy was about it's about the people. It's about the, you know what I mean. It's eating wholesome, great food, yes, but the venue is as important as the menu. You know what I mean? It's both.
Sure.
Having experience type of thing. So like, we put a lot of effort into the vibe.
Yeah, good on you. Yeah, it's great for like the community. It really is.
Mm.
He's also, like myself, a massive UFC fan. We've just been discussing. We could have done a podcast on its own talking about UFC and the different fighters and podcasting as well. So, and he's definitely someone I've wanted to have on for a long time. So, yeah, I'm just stoked we could get it sorted out today.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And obviously, he's got an amazing, real passion for health and like food, nutrition, fitness, etc. So I thought we thought we'd start by looking at something. I guess it's taken my interest last over 12 months, and that it's sort of coming more into the public vernacular as well, and that's of gut health and the benefits of gut health and why it's so important in our life. And I think for a long period of time we never really used to pay much attention to that, and the understanding of how gut health doesn't just affect how we feel physically, but also very much determines our mental, cognitive state, and also immune system, etc. So can you, if I can sort of put you on the spot with this, just give us your interest in it. And
it's everything. I mean, my background's as a naturopath, so 20 years naturopathic research, study, and so forth, and we base everything around holism. Everything's a holistic look. But having said that, gut health has always been our prime objective. Okay. And it does. And back in the day before penicillin came on board, all the research was going on the gut, on the bowel. Yeah. Okay.
Is that like it's early 1900s?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And like the physician to the king, physician to the queen, and so forth. All the research was in the bowel because that was the most interesting, and they were stumbling across it. It was things like they would have to cut out part of the bowel for various reasons, and lo and behold, that person's arthritis healed up. You know what I mean?
Right, okay,
yeah, weird things like that. And then they're smart people, and I think, what's going on here? So they started to think, and they were starting to investigate a lot of other ailments being secondary to just problems in the gut. And that was going on quite well. And then penicillin came on, and people were saying, well, we will cure all diseases within 10 years because of antibiotics. And they thought it was a game ender, you know. But it turns out it wasn't, as we all know. Yeah. But and now you're right. It's a massive resurgence with the microbiome. Now all the research once again has gone back into the bowel, and we now know that for every one human cell we got 10 bacterial cells, and for every one bacterial cell we got power to the 10 viral bacterial phage cells.
Sure.
You know,
okay.
we can't even map those. You know what I mean?
What's a bacterial phage?
Well, it's a viral type cell.
Sure.
That
just collects and accumulates in our body. And
they live in the bowel, same as the bacteria.
Right.
Yeah, but there's even more of those guys. You know what I mean? Sure. And the thing is, like you alluded to before, they are like little mechanics on our DNA. They are splicing in DNA here and there. Because the speed of their life is phenomenal. You know, I mean, they got a quick turnover. But they are taking environmental factors from our food and everything else and manipulating DNA expression. But that's only part of it. Like you said as well, like we all know now that 80% of your serotonin is produced, and more and more studies are flooding in with cognitive state, emotional state being linked directly to the bowel, immune system. But what does this mean? What it means is the power is back with us again. It's the ball is in our court. Because how do you change? The fastest way to change that is with your food. Super fast. You can change the biome within 4 days. Okay. Massively.
Wow, that's quick.
Oh, really fast.
Yeah.
But you try and meet someone that's going to like stick to a dietary change 4 days. No one makes it.
Yeah.
You know, everyone makes about 4 hours.
Right.
You know?
It can be tough. Yeah.
Because it's emotional, man. It's very emotional.
Yeah, definitely. And it can be related also like a massive, we could even call it a scourge in our society. We spoke about a bit earlier, but sugar as well. Like having to give up like a diet based on sugar, which for a lot of people is like means to an end for their lifestyle. Yeah,
well, you've got as much chance as asking a cocaine addict to give up cocaine. And I mean, that is not a metaphor, that is just pure science. There's a part in the brain, the nucleus accumbens, that's a part that lights up with any addictive tendency, whether it's gambling, sex, cocaine, heroin, whatever. Does not matter. Sugar lights it up like a Christmas tree.
Right, okay.
You know, it really, and like I was saying to you before, the most dangerous drug is the most ubiquitous, but the most sort of, that's not a drug, it's just sugar. That's nothing. Really? Because when you look at the diseases it's causing, the mental states, it's a heavy drug. Yeah. And we've got our kids just jacked on the stuff.
Sure.
But we don't think it's anything. And like I was talking to someone the other day, you know, you give it another 10 years, we'll be looking at sugar in our commercial food chain the same way as that back in the day when there was heroin and cough syrup. When there was Coca-Cola was cocaine and cola nut. We look back on that now and just laugh.
Yeah.
But we are doing the exact same thing now with having so much sugar around.
Right.
No doubt about it. It changes your emotional state, changes your biome faster than anything. Very inflammatory. It's crazy.
And it's a real, it's all well and good for us adults who we have got a greater option and ability to be able to look into it, change our dietary habits. But like when you look at the children and us like really enforcing this upon children with advertisements, you know, making it, you know, seem like it's like some sort of wonderland to go get this sugary snack or, you know, and it's something that I've really been sort of thinking about, even struggling with of late, is like, how the fuck do we just we're sitting back as a society and just allowing this to happen, like allowing marketing.
Corporatocracy, man.
Corporatocracy.
It's
fast food, KFC.
And you don't need the glitzy advertising. You know, it is a drug. It's the human being. If I've learnt one thing in 20 years of studying biology and the natural health systems, it's that we are a chemical reward system on legs. We don't do anything unless there's some sort of chemical reward. Right. That be dopamine most of the time, but serotonin. It's going to be some chemical that makes you feel good, and then that action is associated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like when you pour sugar in there, that is just blitzing the addictive. You know what I mean? Like we're in a really tough situation now. And then the other thing is you got a medical system that likes to label a disease state. All right, they label it and then they'll find and match a drug with that label.
Sure.
These are all symptomatic expressions of basic malfunctions in natural thinking and living.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
And sugar, problem with sugar, Alzheimer's. Right? Problem with sugar, you can get diabetes. You can get inflammation that's causing your joints to freak out. You can be many a thing. And the core problem that's holding it in can be just too many fast carbs and sugars.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, because this insulin they call it now diabetes type 3 is Alzheimer's.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Type 3 now.
Yeah.
It's because we know now the brain mainly feeds off glucose, right?
Yep.
It can feed off ketones if you're clever.
Right.
Yep. You'll make it feed on fat.
Sure.
But
that's something we'll like to talk about a bit later on as well.
Yeah, well, that's where it's at too.
Cool.
But like, so what are we doing? What happens when we have all this sugar that breaks down too fast? You can't have too much sugar in the bloodstream. It just throws everything out of whack. So the hormone insulin rushes in to bind all the sugar to get it out of the blood, right? Now hormones are involved, okay? So now you've got powerful information chemical signals. And from there, you get a whole host of problems. Now with the brain, what's happening is that the brain is becoming insulin resistant. So the brain is starving because we keep feeding it these high octane, fast carbs, these sugars, and all of a sudden the hormone that's supposed to get the sugars into the brain cells is now not working. So these people with Alzheimer's are actually starving their brains to death.
Right.
If only they knew what they have to do now is go into a ketogenic diet. They have to now train their body. It takes 4 to 8 weeks to train their body to start burning ketones from fat.
Okay. Yeah.
Bang, the brain's right back up and going again.
Sure.
Yeah. So
can you explain a bit? I'm only at like a base understanding of ketones and how that works, and I'm sure for probably many people I haven't even heard the word ketones before and how that works. But can you just discuss a little bit about how that works?
Yep. So ketones are a metabolite of fats. So you can actually burn fat for energy, right? And they'll break down to small fatty acids and so forth. But the liver can convert them into ketones, and then the brain and the muscle and all that love feeding off ketones instead of sugars to do that. The problem is, while there's heaps of sugar around, the body ain't going to worry about creating ketones from fat.
Sure.
So the only way you can get into a ketone burning state is to really limit your carbohydrates, which people freak out, low carb diet, blah, blah, blah. But it's not really, it's the way we're designed genetically. Yep. Because back in the day, all this fruit we're eating now, all these watermelons and everything, they are man-made.
Yeah.
And now we've hybridized them and we've manipulated them to the point where they taste sweeter. Keep breeding that with that one. It's sweeter again. It's sweeter again. After thousands of years, you've now got like the sugar content and all that fruit is through the roof.
Sure. Yeah.
The fruit that we used to have was nowhere near as sweet.
Right.
So we're not designed to have this much sugar.
Right.
We're designed to
even natural sugars from fruit. We're not just talking about lollies here.
No, we're talking natural sugars.
Yeah.
It just was not on our planet. Even berries. Berries were so small. It'd take you half a day to collect so many.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? So it was not a viable food source in a sense. They were there and they were a big part of it, but the point being, they didn't break down in the sugar so fast. You know what I mean? So we're designed for it. We're also designed to be fasting all the time. Where the human body is designed to, if there's no food for 2 days, we're good with that. You know what happens? You actually think better because you start fasting, the body starts to break down fat reserves, turns them into ketones through the liver and feeds the brain.
And it's also good for white blood cell production. Is that right, fasting?
Yeah. And all that. Well, the thing about fasting that's interesting is like if you fast a day, by the second day, the white blood cells are starting to break down all the damaged tissue matter and dead cells in the brain.
Okay.
And then it releases a flood of stem cells, brand new fresh cells that rebuild the brain. So you literally rebuild a fresh brain on day 2 of fasting.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Interesting. That quickly.
Oh, God. So that and we're all sort of becoming more familiar now with the remodeling of the brain, neuroplasticity and all this sort of stuff. So if we are disciplined enough to be able to, like, every now and then just not eat for a day, you can literally rebuild your brain and other parts of the body as well. And then the only thing left is just to add new software, to really rethink who you are, what you are.
Have a bit of a reset, if you will.
Absolute reset. Because we're being hypnotized 24/7 by not only the media and commercial lifestyle we got, but each other, as well. Sure. Limiting belief systems are the currency of this culture we're living in at the moment.
Definitely. there's that whole thing of like, you know, for a long period of time, it was like breakfast is the most important meal of the day and all this sort of stuff. And I definitely bought into that. And like, you know, if I didn't have breakfast, I thought, I fucked up my day. I didn't have breakfast. Fuck. I'm stuffed for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really listening to how my body works. And of course, my body, as I get older, also changes in the way it responds to, you know, outside stimuli. So I've recently, over the last few months, I don't have breakfast anymore.
No.
And I have like a couple of bananas during the day, and then I'll have like a big green shake about 2 p.m. And a big meal, and then sort of snack, and then a big meal for dinner. And I've just found my energy levels have just it's really, really increased. And I sort of come to realize that a large part of my dietary habits were based on, I guess obviously my family, what we did growing up, but also what just advertising and marketing and what I felt I was supposed to do, what I should do, rather than what actually resonates with who I am.
Unquestioned. It's the nutrition is so simple that we get confused by it.
Right.
Because the basic principle is don't eat unless you're hungry.
Yeah.
But we don't question that because we think, it's breakfast, I must eat.
Sure.
But is it that, or is it more that we're addicted again? Because what are we eating for breakfast? We're eating high sugared foods.
Right.
And then so that spikes your blood sugar. You get a little high from that.
Yeah.
You know, you get a little dopamine hit, and then you start coming down, and your blood sugar starts crashing quickly, which releases chemicals that make you want to eat again.
Yeah.
So you're going up and down, up and down. But if you start eating whole foods, and like you said, a banana or just whole foods, you don't get that spike in blood sugar, right? Food isn't as addictive. It's not like a drug anymore. So it's not as fun.
Sure. Yeah.
But the point is, you don't get the lows. So you can easily go a day without eating and not get the headaches, not getting all this stuff that's saying, if you don't eat every 4 hours, if you don't graze, if you're not grazing, your blood sugar crashes and then your brain goes fuzzy and your emotions go fuzzy. No, only if you're on a funky food chain.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're on a processed, refined food chain where all the fiber and all the life force is taken out and everything else, you will go up and down all the time. But like when you don't, you find now and then you're just not hungry, and you have to then listen to that enteric nervous system, that gut instinct.
Sure.
And see, this is the core of it, and this is why raw feeding is important, because when you get back to that gut instinct, when you awaken the gut, and you get that animal instinct roaring again, you get this anger back in the gut, that growl now and then, you awaken your senses to who you are. We're animals,
right?
And then all of a sudden you reconnect again. Then when you eat after that, you're eating, which is very intimate, and it's a relationship between you and your food. Why? Because food is a messenger. It's not carbohydrates and protein and calories. It's a message. And every food has got a certain geometric message, a certain biophotonic message. These are messages. Information. And so when you start eating the right food, it's informing your cells to create a certain structure, which will create a certain behavior, which suits you.
Right.
No one can tell you what you should be eating.
Sure.
But if you're not listening to your gut, then you won't even know what you're supposed to be eating. But see, no one's got enough confidence in themselves.
Right.
But the way you get the confidence back is stop eating.
Right. Yeah.
Just stop eating, man.
Sure.
Intermittent fasting is super simple. It's you only have to eat late, say have dinner at 6 and then don't eat again until 12 the next day.
Right.
That's easy,
Sure.
man. If you can't do that, then you are sick.
Yeah.
You have a blood sugar problem. You have metabolic issues. You know what I'm saying? So, so you're on the right path. Like breakfast, yes or no? Well, only you can tell me that. Are you hungry? If you're hungry, but are you hungry or are you emotionally empty?
Right. Sure.
See, most people are emotionally empty.
Yeah.
And
it's like a compensatory thing.
Yeah. So you eat something, you change your emotional state straight away.
Sure.
You get a little buzz.
Yeah.
And then your shitty life's not so bad.
Right.
You know
exactly. For a period of time.
Yeah, for like 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then you need a can of Coke, or you need this or that.
A lollipop or whatever.
Something, So the best thing you can do for yourself is, if you want a relationship with food, stop eating.
Sure. Yeah, I had an experience of that where I fasted for 4 days. And it was about 18 months ago, and it totally reset the way I understand my digestive system and when I eat. And like back in the day, and especially like when I was younger, like being one of these guys, wanted to be big and be strong. And so like, I've got to fucking eat.
Yeah.
And I really just didn't have as great a understanding of how my body works as it could have been. And it wasn't until, like you said, I actually did it was a 4-day fast, and I reset myself, and then just started slowly with foods again for the next 2 or 3 days, just with shakes and fruits, etc. And now, like, I really am able to really respond to what my body needs now. And yeah, if I don't feel like eating now, I just won't eat. But back in the day, I would have just like forced myself to eat because I thought that's what I'm supposed to do.
It's all a belief.
Yeah.
And so now where we've got to now with our understanding of nutrition and stuff is fats are very important.
Right.
And so,
which everyone would have gone,
yeah, fats are going to make me fat. But
sure.
I mean, there's
good fats and there's bad fats as well, isn't there?
Exactly.
So,
yeah, and there's processed fats, and
right.
So the worst kind of fats are processed vegetable oils. You know.
Oh really?
Oh god,
okay.
Yeah. So you don't want the canola and all that sort of stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah. Can I just quickly say I'm a big fan of coconut oil.
Yeah, that's
the way
number
to go?
one.
Okay.
Yeah, number one. Yeah. And so that's what you want to introduce that into your life on a big level.
Right.
To the point where you're just scooping out a teaspoon.
Sure. Yeah,
you know,
I put it in my green shakes.
Yeah,
it helps
exactly.
elongate the chains. I've heard I don't know the science behind it exactly. Don't listen to me, anyone.
You got me there, man. Look, it buffers everything out. A whole food is something that's got this perfect balance of everything. You know what I mean? And quite often when you just throw some fat into whatever you're having, it just buffers that out more. Yep. But the thing is, like, coconut butter is medium chain triglycerides, so they're just short to medium chains of fat.
Okay.
The liver loves them. It can break them down and convert them to energy very easily.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can even have liver problems and eat coconut butter, coconut fat, no problem.
Okay.
In fact, you should at that point.
Right.
Medium chain triglycerides, short chains. It's impossible to put weight on with those guys. In fact, after the Second World War, the American farmers, when all the borders opened up and, hey, we're friends with Japan again, let's get all their coconut oil and all this sort of stuff, they thought, hey, let's try and fatten these cows up. Instead of they used to use lard or something like that. Okay. Something crazy. Let's use coconut butter. What happened was these cows were getting lean, muscled, restless. Okay. They had energy, man, and they were losing weight because medium short chain fatty acids, they feed the thyroid, your metabolism arcs up, you start feeling good, man.
Yeah. So now they use like goddamn bloody corn syrup and all that.
So they do it through insulin, you see. Insulin's a fat storage hormone. So you blow insulin out, it starts converting everything into fat.
Right. Okay.
Which is what's going on with our obesity problem.
Sure.
You know, it's just carbs.
Yeah.
You know.
And those insulin responses to it.
Yeah. It's a resistance. We're blowing the whole receptor sites out, and now everyone's just turning whatever they eat into fat.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that mean? What it means is they're not getting the energy from it.
Right.
So that's why when your diet's good, every now and then you just know it's time to fast. You know, I don't need to eat at the moment. You know. And it's pretty simple like that. But yeah, fats are in. So me, I'm vegan centric. So I mean, I don't do the butter and things like that. But saturated fat is saturated fat. It's all good, you know. And then the whole cardiovascular correlations are now defunct.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
Can you tell us more about that?
Well, it's cardiovascular problems are largely inflammatory process.
Okay, sure.
Underlining, and what's the main inflammatory factor? It's sugar again. You know?
Okay.
But also damaged fat. So a lot of these heat-damaged vegetable oils or margarines and things like that, they're horrendous.
Yeah. Okay.
Things like that. But you got to look at just the evidence as well, like coconut oil, coconut butter, coconut produce. There's a lot of countries that they're like 40-50% of their calories are coming from coconut fat and all like that. No cardiovascular at all.
Yeah, okay,
you know,
sure.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Just super healthy people.
Speaking of cardiovascular, and this relates, but my nasal passages, I went to Fringe Festival last night with a friend, and we had like 3 or 4 beers, and I don't drink that much beer anymore. But I woke up this morning and my fucking nasal passages were inflamed, and I was like, "Yeah, it's the beer." I was like,
"Beer shit."
God damn it! Tastes so good, but
it's yeast juice.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
And grain. See, grain. That's the whole thing. Like with the becoming a fat burner, grains are out, man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
But what, out forever? No, nothing's out forever. You know what I mean? You get healthy. Being healthy means you get to choose now what you want to do.
Right.
You know, and every now and then choose some grain, man. It's fantastic. It tastes amazing.
Yep.
You get a nice little high off that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, some bread.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff. It's great.
Sourdough is supposed to be okay for it because it's fermented or it's partly fermented. Is that right?
So the acid, the lactobacilli, the fermentation process, it softens the impact. Yeah, so sourdough is much better.
Right.
But bread, if you're going to eat it, the heavier the loaf, the better it's going to be for you.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So like a heavy sourdough, it's great, but don't eat every day.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? It's cake. Sure. Let's not just get it right. You know what I mean? Like, so you really don't want to have it every day.
Yeah.
And so people say, oh, what are you supposed to eat for breakfast and stuff? Well, like chia porridge is great, you know. Yeah. Man, I have salad, you know, for breakfast. Cool. Anything but, you know, just find your options, you know. You got different options. You know, if you can find happy chickens that have been looked after, you know, eggs are amazing.
Yeah, sure.
All that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Great fat, great protein.
So things like muesli, all that sort of stuff. Like,
well, you know, if you sprout the grain and all like that, yeah, fine. But once again, muesli. But what I'm saying is also you will know. Like when you get that relationship back with your gut, the enteric nervous system. If you eat something, 20 minutes later, just check in.
Right.
Do I feel bloated? Do I feel slightly swollen?
Sure.
That's inflammation, you know.
Yeah.
Do I feel heavy? Do I feel tired? If any of that's going on, this biome thing that we're talking about before, it's not going well. You know, so save it for parties. I've got an 80-20 rule with nutrition and health and everything. And like
cool, man.
80%
I should just wrote a blog on 80-20 rule. Yeah.
It works,
I'll send it to you.
It's a yin-yang.
Fantastic.
It's a yin-yang thing.
Yeah, for
sure.
It's
a momentum. It works. And we're not here to be monks and flagellate ourselves and all this sort of stuff. You know what I mean? We're here to have a good time.
Experience.
But having a good time means you've got to be pretty healthy.
Right.
You know, and we're sleeping on the processed carbs.
Right.
You know, because being healthy isn't being disease-free.
Right.
Let me put that forward too.
Right.
It's not just, hey, I haven't got any diagnosable diseases. I'm healthy. No, you know, maybe you are. Health is an expression of life, you know, and it's the expression on a mental, spiritual, emotional, social, and physical level. You know what I mean? So, I mean, if you're too scared to go for your dreams, go after what you love in life and all like this, then you are far from healthy.
Right.
Just because you look great and you got, you know, you got the right muscle density or whatever, it does not cut it still.
Yeah,
if you're emotionally inept, you can't have good relationships, and you're too scared to go after what you want to be. You know, you might be like a pillar of health. You might look kick-ass. You might be great. But maybe this person is a closet homosexual.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And they haven't got enough guts to express themselves.
Yeah.
Far from healthy.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, you got the hard work to do now.
Sure.
You know, perhaps an ayahuasca circle for you. You know,
Yeah.
that would be my prescription.
To really bring up those things, those deep dormant parts of yourself that you don't want to
realize
acknowledge.
Realize that it's a dreamscape, man. What are you holding on for? What are you scared of? You know? If you think you're going to get through life without oppressors, without people pointing the finger at you and saying you're bad, you're kidding yourself. You know? So do not inhibit the expression of life through you just because of that. You know, so this is all part of health. You know, but hey, food and diet plays a massive role for it.
Yeah, no doubt.
But hey, if I can rewind it, like, because this is where it gets back to, people go, oh yeah, okay, but then what do I eat? You'll find out, because if you get mucus, like you have a few beers and then you get mucus the next day, that's great, because your system is reactive.
Sure.
It says, hey, you know what you did last?
Right. It's working to try.
Mucus is a defense barrier. It's an elimination process. Yeah, we party, but now I'm going to clean up.
Right. Okay.
You know, when your body can't clean up, that's when you go to your friend's house, they've had a party and they still haven't put the mess away.
Sure.
You know, that's when they're not getting a mucus reaction anymore.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And so with you briefly touched on your 80-20 rule as far as food goes. Can you explain a bit more about that and how you work with that?
On many different levels. So
not just food, but life in general.
So like, for example, with food, 80% of the time, be somewhat disciplined about your food.
Right.
I mean, health is not something that just falls in our lap.
Sure.
It's something you have to create.
Yeah.
It's something that you make. It's something that you practice, you know. And so, number one, you got to have the right information, you know, to build something. And you go after it. And 80% of the time, that means not having the beers, not having the sugar, not having the bread, not having any food, not, a lot of the times it's about what not to do. And that takes a lot of effort. And it's about, having the green smoothies, the green juices, get this micronutrient density stuff. I mean, that was the big thing, 5-6 years ago, micronutrients.
Right.
That's why with the green smoothies and the whole raw movement came to the fore, because shit, we're not getting the micronutrients, all the minerals and the phytonutrients and all these phytochemicals and stuff like that.
And the ability to be efficient with what you're digesting and getting straight into the areas that needs to go in.
Exactly. And that's why overeating is such a problem. And if you eat foods that are mucus forming, because as soon as you create a mucus, if you got mucus up here, there's mucus on the gut. Don't worry about that. Okay. It's the same tube. You know what I mean? So if you're eating foods that your body is saying no to, but you're not listening to it, and it will create mucus, and then that blocks or inhibits absorption. So all of a sudden you have to eat a lot more to get less absorbed in. That's why it's just not an efficient system.
Sure.
That's why you got to eat clean and eat whole foods, and a lot of the great foods for you, they're rather bland. You get a taste for them,
right?
But man, it's not going to taste the same as a McDonald's whatever burger.
Sure.
You know what I mean? With the sauce that's made out of high, what is it, fructose, corn syrup, all this sort of stuff.
But on those buns though that you're talking about,
ones
breads
that
and
dissolve
cake.
in your mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they've got a patent on that stuff.
But aren't they're classified as cakes? I heard that once before.
Dude,
it's not even like bread. They're buns from McDonald's. They're classified. If you have McDonald's, you're eating a cake.
It's cake. Yeah. But I have the same argument for people having white bread or even most bread for breakfast with jam or whatever. You're having cake for breakfast. Right. Don't kid yourself. Just because we call it, we're not Eskimos that have 60 names for ice. Right. We've got 60 different names for sugar.
Yeah.
It's all like that. That's a sponge cake.
Yeah.
You put honey on that, or you put your jam or your conserve or whatever they call it on that white bread. Man, you have sponge cake for breakfast. Let's be honest.
Have you been to Europe? Have you travelled Europe?
Yeah.
Like many of those places you go through there, like that's pretty much breakfast. It's white bread with some sort of conserve. Good luck trying to get anything else.
It's horrendous.
Really bad.
It's horrendous. And at those points, man, you just don't eat. You can't. What I did before when I was in Europe, that stuff was everywhere. So okay, breakfast is out.
Sure.
So I was just doing black coffee, and I was putting coconut fat in it.
Okay.
It keeps you going, man. That's okay. You can get some fat at least.
Until you can go somewhere where you can get something that's decent.
Go to the market and get some decent food,
So we're very, you'll know more about this than I would, but like the produce that we're able to get here in Perth, where is it how would you see it? Is it on like a global scale? Because certainly from like my experience of being over to Europe, I've been a couple of times now, a lot of their produce comes from overseas and, they haven't really got the agricultural background. And we have our own issues with agriculture here as far as the amount of fertilizers we use in this shit soil that we have. But how do you place like what you're able to source and what we have here in a grander scheme?
Disappointing.
Okay.
In a word.
Right.
Because it's all business. Once again, people just trying to to make money. You got to like mass produce certain things, cut corners and things like that. Food should never be a commodity, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, for sure.
And in my rosy future, it's not. The way I see the future is that we'll be all hooked up with communities where our food's just coming in.
Okay.
And you don't get to choose. You don't get, I'll have strawberries. Well, guess what? It's not strawberry season, so there's no, nice request. But no, this is what's coming in. This is what the farm.
This is the season that we're in at the moment.
And so you will produce food from that.
Definitely,
And at that point, it'll be looking good. But you like you said, our soils are pretty. It's tough here with soils. Organic food is super expensive here. So as someone with a restaurant, we get as much organic as we want, but it's just we can't afford to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Our food is all our food is handmade. It's all like hand produced. Nothing comes out of a tin. So there's man hours there. That's wages.
Sure.
And so we're just trying to survive. So we can't get all the organic we want. We're still heading that way. In fact, we've been talking with people that are trying to set up a system in the wheat belt. Massive. What do you call it? Greenhouses.
Okay.
Yeah. Where they're going to grow a lot of stuff, and even better than that, they're trying to get refugees in through special visas to be able to live in these old wheat belt farm areas that are going under, and the little towns are going collapsing, because everything's going big scale farming.
Sure. Okay.
I know a lot of farmers too, and they do not want to spray at all, because they see it, man. They know what's going on, but they can't get out of it because they can't stop the cycle.
Right.
But you know what? Most of those guys, they don't eat canola. They don't, they don't eat it. They don't do it. And there's illnesses around that too. So.
Right. Yeah. Have you seen or looked much into vertical farming?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah?
I love it.
So do I.
It makes sense. Go up.
I studied landscape architecture. I studied for the last 3 years, and one of my projects was like really based on, using the use of vertical farms. Where, I mean, there's lots of anything that new comes along. There's going to be disadvantages and advantages. I mean, can you imagine the transport industry would just be up in arms? Like we'd be able to have these vertical farms in city centres. We'd all be able to go get our produce easily. Which is just absolutely fantastic. And I feel out of probably necessity one day, we'll absolutely strip the land bare where that may need to happen and bring it on. But yeah, I just find it really interesting how we can also now, with the use of technology, be able to like facilitate cleaner, better ways of living. And like you said, like build it upwards instead of this expansive thing that we've got, especially in Australia.
And just hold on to food. Right. Because I'm sure you're aware as well. With you follow exponential growth curves, and you keep your finger on the pulse. Man, I'll be happy if we've just got real food in 10 years' time. I mean, these 3D printers are coming along now. They're already mucking around with food.
Yeah.
The problem I've got, that's going to come on the scene before the average person wakes up to what food actually is.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because most people do not care for food. They don't really, as long as it fills them up, they think that's its only role. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my concern is that we're going to get this new breed of techno food come through before the masses wake up to the fact that food is more complex than that.
Sure.
And at that point there, that would be somewhat of a concern, because your cognitive and your psyche abilities are still fed on food. You know what I mean?
Very much so. So it could turn into another form of, like, could we say, like, going with a slight conspiracy angle here, like another form of programming?
It's no conspiracy theory. There's a cognitive redundancy being enforced on the population.
Right.
I mean, I don't think it's a person sitting there making a plan how to do it.
Either do I, but I know what you're saying.
But it's money, and it's people
exactly.
that don't care for anything but money.
Yep.
But
greed.
Yeah, man. But you see it. If you want to see how much health someone's got, look into their eyes and see how much light is coming from their eyes. I'm talking figuratively, but if you people that are really healthy, they have a spark about them, and you can look into their eyes and you'll see a light. You know what I mean? You walk around some lower demographic areas, man, there is nothing coming out.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you follow them into the shop, see what food's coming out.
Yep.
Dude, it's trolleys full of white bread and Coke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is turning over. Now, who in the food industry gets the biggest cutbacks? They get the biggest subsidies and all like that. It's not me with my whole food, raw food. You know.
Good health.
No, we're getting whacked.
You're right.
It's people like McDonald's and Hungry Jack's, all those, they're still getting major subsidies on wages and things like that. So,
and what you're saying there too, I think it's important to pick up. And for people who aren't aware, it is a socio-economic issue as well. Like you look at that triangle of like Cottesloe, North Fremantle, Cottesloe, Nedlands, Dalkeith. There's like one Hungry Jack's there and a Red Rooster and a Subway along Stirling Highway. That's about it. And that's a large area, like until you get to like the freeway and then back all the way down to Fremantle. But you go to any low socioeconomic area, fucking hell, any main strip, there'll be like McDonald's, KFC's, chicken treats, all kinds.
Yeah, man, you go to Rome in Italy. You know, good luck. There's none there.
No, yeah.
There's nothing. There's no fast food stuff there. You know what? They're all skinny over there.
Sure.
I was not expecting that. I thought it was going to be, because we think, they're all fat Italian people.
Eating
only in Australia, man.
Yeah.
Go over there. No, they're not.
Yeah.
And I went to a lot of countries around there and was blown out where there's you're walking around the town, it's like, what's different here? There's no fast food places. Yeah. So it's not normal everywhere in the world. It's just this Western stuff, us in America and Britain and stuff. But
and it's funny how it's getting into, like, I haven't been there before, but like to Japan and like these Asian countries now where there's a slant towards a real push for capitalism. There's like this all of a sudden it's like opening up a fucking portal to like these fast food outlets, and they just go whoosh straight in. And you can see noticeable effects on the even just from the outside looking in, just the physical abilities and makeup of different cultures when that happens, when that occurs.
Yeah, so it's interesting, but hey, people are waking up real fast, and the beauty of it is when you start to improve your diet, within days you're feeling better.
Right.
You're feeling more centered. You're not feeling so flippant, so groundless.
Sure.
You start eating properly, you feel more earthed, you feel more grounded.
Yeah, definitely. And even like literally eating grounding type vegetables, root vegetables.
Totally, yeah.
Even on a psychosomatic level and a spiritual level, it really resonates with grounding. Really planting your feet in the ground as well.
Yeah.
Rather than anything that's sort of like an etherical sort of type cake or something like that.
I mean, these, foods have energetics about them. Like chili. You have chili, you get hot. Even if you sprinkle chili on your hot chocolate, it just disperses.
Right.
And as a herbalist, we know most formulas would put a little bit of cayenne, a little bit of chili in there because it disperses and it delivers all the herbs to the microcirculatory areas and stuff like that. So it's heating to the body. But then you've got like all the lentils and your dals and all that all these things that are grown and very earthy. They're very grounding, and you get so there's cooling principles, drying principles, and things like that. Like if you are getting mucusy type stuff, you got to know what foods disperse mucus,
right? Okay,
and clear lymphatics, and if you get a lot of candida, and that's a dampness, it's a moldy, damp condition. You got to know what foods are heating and drying. Bitters and pungent foods and things like that. But it's not something that we're familiar with.
Yeah, there's not enough education out there, is there?
Because it shouldn't be hard to navigate your way through life,
right,
in a healthy way with foods. You know what I mean? But we don't. And then we leave it, and then 5-6 years down the track, now you've got a compromised system, and you've got illnesses.
But the amazing thing about the human body is it is able to respond. It is able to redevelop.
Phenomenal.
It's absolutely phenomenal. It's like this. I had this once. It was in a ayahuasca ceremony where I just really saw my body as just being like this technological suit of armor. Like I was able to from a really objective perspective, see my body for what it was and how it worked. I was like, fucking goddamn, this is just incredible how this thing works.
It's phenomenal.
So we touched on it a little bit, but how do you feel in the future technology is going to, in what ways I should say, because it can have also negative impacts, but what positive impacts do you feel like technology can have for our food and our diets in the future?
Look, if it goes the right way, it's going to be phenomenal, because even though the Human Genome Project, a lot of people say, it was a waste of time, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't a waste of time at all. Okay, they didn't get the information they thought they wanted to get. They got something better. They realized that it's not genetic.
Right.
We got the same amount of genes as yeast. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it wasn't, and there's a lot of dumb animals that have got more genes than us.
Right. Okay.
So it does not equate that way. Yeah. But they are starting to map. Now that they've mapped in the genome, you'll be able to get very specific medicine to your genome. They'll start to individualize medicines.
Sure.
That's a good thing straight away, because as a naturopath, lesson one for us is everyone's different.
Yeah.
So you must find your constitution.
Sure.
And then you start to you use that language. You work within constitutions. Everyone's slightly different. So food that works for me, not necessarily going to work for you. And so what will start to happen when they start to work through genomics and then proteogenomics, which is like the protein markers. They're saying to map all that.
Okay.
You'll get very specific medicine, so the side effects will drop right down. And maybe at that time we might see more of a merger between Eastern and Western medicine.
Sure.
That's what I'm hoping for. If we get that, then we're laughing, because the problem with Western medicine, it has no philosophy.
Sure.
You see.
Yeah. It's
so
empty.
It's like a race car. The other day I was driving home, and there was this trailer, and it had one of those dragster cars, massive back wheels, tractor wheels, and then these little stunted wheels at the front, like a bike tire on the front, you know. And I was thinking, man, that's like sugar metabolism. It's like a lot of things, but it's also like a lot of Western medicine. So powerful.
Sure.
But its steering wheel is shitty. You know what I mean? It's good going straight.
Yeah.
But like when that
it's
starts
no resilience. It's not able to bend in the wind.
No, man. If it crashes, it's a nightmare.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If that thing crashes, it's bad. You know what I mean? But I'm talking, let's put it into context, I'm talking about chronic disease.
Okay.
Everyone agrees, we all know you have a car crash, break your arm, you want Western medicine straight away. You're not going to go to acupuncture.
Has its benefits.
Yeah, we know that, but it's contextual. What's happening in Western medicine is that they're trying to now work in the preventative field with their drugs.
Right.
And it's like, no, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
But like, I know the future could be fantastic, but the unfortunate thing is, it's a massive industry. We're up to 30 holistic doctors in America have been mysteriously found dead now.
I haven't read into that, but I've seen it.
Everyone's sleeping on that. And to me, it's like, nothing's going to ever happen about that. Because we're in an information overload.
Yeah.
The Twin Towers can fall down, no problem.
Sure.
No one gives a shit about the third tower.
Right.
And nothing about this, that. People are over it.
Yeah.
Everyone's overwhelmed. But there is a war going on with natural medicine. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, right.
So like, will it happen or not? I don't know.
Shit, Heath, are you going to be in trouble for being on this podcast?
Yeah, man,
You're probably a marked man
I
already.
would be honoured if anyone gave a shit about my opinions.
I'm sure someone's got a file on you
make
somewhere.
raw pizzas, you know what I mean? I think I'm a threat. But like, the more powerful and the bigger an establishment is, the more fragile it is.
Right.
The more it requires every single individual putting their 10 cents towards it. It's just looking that way and, yes, sir.
Right.
As soon as people start waking up individually and pulling away, the whole thing collapses.
Which is what's happening though, Heath. I really feel it is.
People have to have the energy to investigate. You see, it's all there. All the information's there. If people want to see how much corruption is happening in the research, in this Western science that we revere, where's the science on that? Where's the science on that? It's like, well, why don't you read Bad Pharma? Fantastic book.
Okay.
And this guy is inside the industry just documenting the amount of fraud and corruption, because it's money, man, big bucks. And the same people that are working for the FDA are just revolving around to these big drug companies, and then it's all boys club.
Yeah.
You get this in, and people would be shocked. See, people don't want to believe that the bad stuff happens, but hey, it does.
Yeah.
But I'm an optimist, and I believe that the people will unite because of the internet. The internet is just our nervous system. It's connecting us with information very quickly. It's allowing us to connect very quickly.
Yep.
And I think that's what's going to make the change.
100% agree with you. I'm a massive proponent of that as well. And it obviously can be used for the negative, as like a lot of things in life are. But like what we're seeing at the moment is like the ability. So like I really find it interesting when you compare what's happening now to like the 60s movement, where the 60s movement, they got onto a thing, okay? Like psychedelics, this breakaway from a stringent structured society where they were dictated upon. They were like, fuck, I just want to be an individual. But they had no real way to be able to link and to communicate and to group. Now we do. We have the internet, and we're able to not only just do it in San Francisco, California, but we're able to do it on a worldwide level. And that's what leaves me tremendously optimistic for the future. But it's not going to be easy. That's the thing.
No, but it's going to happen whether we want it or not. I mean, the internet is like the trainer wheels for us breaching this time-space continuum, which is probably just lost all your right now. Oh, no, here we go.
The good ones have stayed.
But because you can access information 24/7 now, whenever you want to, and things like that.
Yep.
But where's technology leading us? It's leading us to places we can't even imagine at the moment.
No.
And medicine will follow. It will follow that because they've mapped the genome, fantastic. But they are starting to map now. Okay, they're mapping all the proteins on the. That's another story. But they will start to map the frequencies.
Right.
See, every time you think a certain thought, it's a certain frequency. When there's hormone systems and things like that, but there's a lot of electrical systems of information in the body as well, and they're working on frequencies like little mobile phones. So we've got these little protein receptors also on the cells, which are like little antenna, which pick up frequency, which is different. Every frequency is like a signature.
Sure.
When they start to map that, dude, you are now up for remote controlling,
Yeah, right.
So they can work in a good way or a bad way.
Yeah.
I mean, usually there's chemical signals and things like that, but they will get to that point. And of course, it will not be the only part of the treatment.
Right.
You'll still need a platform. It's like, you've got, you still need the hardware. But when they start to modulate that all together, that's when it's going to get interesting.
Sure. Yeah, something I've been really interested in, and there's a guy we've been talking about as well, Tim Ferriss. He's very much into that, the human quantification and like real time analysis of how the body's working, like blood levels, you know, and hadn't thought about it before, but of course energy levels. And I read something about Google Glass bringing something out where they have something like a lens on the eye that can did you see this? They can measure is it glycogen levels or something like that, or glucose levels?
Yeah, right.
Something like that. Okay. So I really feel like if we can do this properly, if we can use technology in the right manner, we can do it where we can have like this real time understanding of what our body needs. And instead of like, I don't know, oh, there's a cheeseburger, I'm going to go get a cheeseburger because I need something to eat. But
see, the whole thing is that all of technology is mirroring nature. It's not as if technology is inventing new systems of physics and things like that.
Sure.
It's like utilizing natural technologies. And so for us, if we really want to know ourselves and know our potential, it's about undoing stuff. It's like unlearning, like you said. You know, the way back is the other way,
right?
To learn. And so that's why if you really want to know yourself, do a fast.
Yeah.
Because you'll find out that, holy moly, I'm mainly an emotional being at the moment. My emotions are controlling a lot more than I'm prepared to admit. And like my habits and programs have cemented in a way of me perceiving the world. And all of this is blocking our potential.
Yeah,
you know, all
most
of it.
Definitely.
And so like we don't really need technology to advance our health.
Sure.
We've got everything we need. We just need whole foods, good foods, and all that. All the good foods come directly from the sun. All of it, all food is a way of harvesting sunlight. It's all biophotonic. It's all bio meaning life, photons. So all food is coming from photosynthesis, and it's all coming from the sun. Now you can eat something that's eaten the plant that created the photosynthesis, or you can go straight for the plant source.
Sure.
But that's the main thing. Like people say, yeah, but there's not enough protein in grass stuff. Really? Have you done the work? Because like if I've got charts where I do my workshops and I show people, let's for everyone would agree, like lean beef is A-grade protein. No one's going to argue with that, right? Because everyone says you just need some meat. Okay, so I've got the amino acid profile on the right-hand side of all of the amino acids, micrograms, milligrams per 100 grams, right? Then I take spirulina, right? And I put it on the left, and I just dial it up until I match the exact same profiling.
Right.
Okay, leucine might be a little bit lower, isoleucine might be a little bit higher, but only within mild stuff. It's the same profile. It's a perfect protein. Everything's represented. Nothing's missing. Perfect. Turns out you need 5 tablespoons of spirulina to match the same profiling, right?
Sure.
But it
can
there.
be done.
Oh man, and what do you get on now the side effects, or what else do you get with the spirulina? You get a massive dose of micronutrients, alginates, heavy metal clearing agents, and like perfect oils. You know, you get it all there.
Sure.
But it does not give you the same sort of feeling.
Right. And so what about hemp? That's something that you and I and our friend Steph has spoken about in the past as well. And its role. New crop. Right.
It's another perfect protein.
So it's like amino, it's like 3, 6, and 9. Is that
the fats?
Right. Okay.
It's got a beautiful fat profile.
Okay.
It's not high on omega-3s. You know? It's got them there.
Yep.
But like, it's got beautiful oil composition. It has got omega-3s, but they need conversion, and it's not the source for that. But it's a beautiful food, beautiful protein, anti-inflammatory. It's a ripper. Really good, easily digested. It's got compounds called like edestin in it, which is a globulin, a protein that is named after edibility. It's so easily digested.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a perfect protein for easy digestion. But you'll know that when you start taking it. It's easy in the gut, you know. But there's a plant right there. When we're finally allowed to use cannabinoids and we're allowed to use the proper hemp plant, all of it, you now will get to another level. Because if you look at the Californian medical marijuana movement, and I don't give a shit whether you want to smoke the stuff or not. I don't care about that. Yeah. I do not concern myself with it. I'm only concerned with what is the most nutrient-dense, medicinal foods. If you juiced a whole marijuana plant, heads and all, nothing compares to that for an elixir of life.
Right.
People are healing themselves of lupus, and this is just following the data of the marijuana movement, the medical marijuana movement, I should say.
Epilepsy, I know.
Oh man, it is phenomenal. And now everyone's agreeing the cannabinoids are, even our government now is saying, okay, the medical marijuana thing's legit.
Sure.
If you smoke it, you destroy it.
Right.
So there's nothing.
Yeah.
But people should be allowed to grow it. It's a weed, it's a plant, and then we'll have a real green smoothie.
Right.
If you one of those, if you can like just juice or smoothie one of those things, the cannabinoids are so therapeutic, powerful anti-inflammatories, anti-cancer, you name it. That's when like all of a sudden, if we're allowed to juice these weeds, because it's not just that. I'm talking about, okay, blend your hemp with your cannabinoids, with your spirulina, with your this, with your that, with some other herbs. Dude, you won't be getting sick.
Yeah.
You won't be getting sick.
Can I put in a suggestion for when that movement does come along? Something I may or may not have done this in the past, but fusing marijuana leaves, cannabinoids, with coconut oil and using that to cook. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's why, like in the smoothie, you would have to have the fats in there as well. You know what I mean? Because it's all there. Sure. It holds it up, their absorption and things like that. Yeah. But being able to blend at that point, you'll get. And the thing is, we have cannabinoid receptors in the brain. You know
that's
what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Cacao is the only other plant. Cacao is the only other plant that we know of that actually delivers small dose cannabinoids as well.
Okay. Oh, really?
But it has. It actually there's a part of the brain that actually requires these foods. Okay. And what does it do? It allows you to think outside the square. It gives you more. So if you're stuck in your life, these foods help you sort of sit back, think differently. It's crazy, that it's illegal.
Times are changing though, Heath. I really believe that. Yeah, and we just need more and more people. Like with what you guys are doing with the restaurant, Raw Kitchen. I don't think we understand as individuals in a population just how powerful we can be. Oh yeah. And we live in this realm of like economics, so that's where we find ourselves. But we really can vote that whole saying we can vote with our hip pocket. And if we decide to start buying more organic food, if we start to instead of going to a fast food outlet and decide to come to somewhere like the Raw Kitchen or Solomon's or somewhere where they're doing something that's real ethical and understanding of what the human body needs, then there's just going to be this roll-on effect. Absolutely.
And the key is we need to take it a little bit quicker and start these communities.
Right.
People need to join up. It does not matter whether it's jiu-jitsu club. It just start connecting with other people.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because that's what's been divided and separated is this the humanitarian aspect of what we are. Right. We're a collective. We're not. That's the greatest illusion that we all have swallowed, is that we're separate. Yeah. Because it's a very easy concept to get. You're there, I'm here. We can see that we're separate. It's an illusion. We are
tribal, communal beings.
We're connected, man. The science is proving it. We're all there. Not in the way that we think, but we're not like Siamese twins. No, but we're mind beings. Sure. Yeah. And a lot of the information being transferred is subconscious. Yeah. But we're proving it now. We're proving it has impact on the immune system, everything else. But like you say, what's not being studied is the synergy of people being single-minded with an altruistic purpose and then slowing their breathing. This way everyone cocks it up. It's like, okay, you've got an intent, but you have to now get the frequency right. Right. So you need to slow your breathing down to 4 to 5 breaths a minute. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because then that kicks in the vagus nerve. Now you've got alchemy going on. Okay, you've activated the vagus nerve. That's switching autonomic nervous system. It's doing all this sort of stuff, and it's changing you from like a beta state down into an alpha down. You are now logging on to a different channel of reality. You know what I mean? And things are different at that level. Now, when we get mass groups of people getting together and unifying this way, we get a flock mentality going on. The synergy at that point is powerful. But people know that if there are any such thing as conspiracy theories and things like that, they subconsciously fear that. They know
Right.
that's the undoing of
Sure.
the establishment. And that's why it's illegal for all the kids to go down to the beach, have a fire, and just hang out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's illegal.
Which is one of the most amazing things you can possibly do as a human being is get together like that. Yeah.
You try telling that to the caveman in you and me.
Sure.
We can't go and have a fire on the beach. Who owns the beach?
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
owns this stuff, Why? Because it will activate something primal in
Right.
us. And all of a sudden, we'll burst free from these shackles of like, you got to go to work on Monday, man. You
Yeah.
got to do this, got to do that,
Yeah. I'm sure you know who Terence McKenna is.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so he's got like a theory that I really love about his and makes perfect sense to me is the nuclear family and like how that's been really quite devastating for us as a culture. And his take on it was that it really began with the advent of agriculture. So instead of like this hunter gathering where it's like communal, someone kills an animal and we all share it or, collect roots and berries, etc. It become much more about instead, okay, now this is my land. And this is my family and yada yada yada, and it just like sunk us into this state of disconnect and isolation, and it's something we've been in for a long period of time. Then of course we've had the Industrial Revolution where it didn't just become our land, but then we had to go and work for 9-10 hours a day, and a big problem with that is it just like fucking brain numbed us where we couldn't understand fully what was going on in the world. We couldn't understand, okay, the government might be fucking us over, or which when I say the government, it's really just us anyway.
It's the establishment.
Yeah, exactly. But we're all part of it, of course.
Yeah.
And the first glimpse we had into that was the 60s when it finally like, hang on, wait, what the fuck's going on here? But again, like you said before, I think what the problem in the 60s, they just didn't take a deep breath.
No.
They just didn't like, hang on guys. But I really feel that's what's happening now. We're like, I feel like we've just over the last few years we've just started to understand. Okay, all right, yep. And there's just been this massive advent and push into psychedelics and plant medicines and their benefits on a cultural global level, working to an individual space. But now we're able to connect. Now we're able to like share information. Okay, well this works well for me. Oh, cool. Oh, that might work for. I'm going to try that. We didn't have that ability in the past.
And plus, the reason the 60s failed was they didn't realize that structure determines behavior.
Right. Okay.
They were like anti-structure. It's like
Dennis Leary, like fuck the establishment, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, which is good.
Really
Freedom's freedom, but like we still need a structure to live by.
Definitely. Yeah.
And that should be based on nature.
Yeah.
And like we don't do anything natural in our world. We're sitting on chairs right now. We should be sitting on the ground.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're in walls. We have houses with no airflow. We do everything possibly wrong.
Yeah.
And then wonder why something's missing in my life.
Wrong.
Life is missing in your life, dude.
Yeah.
And like you said, we're supposed to, like I said, with food, if you want to get a relationship with food, don't eat it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't eat food. I did the 92-day juice feasting. No food for 92 days.
Okay.
Just green.
Damn.
Just like pile like this of juicing green stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was interesting because then I learned about food.
Right.
First thing I learned was we break our day into 3 spots: breakfast, lunch, dinner. And when you're not partaking in that, and you've got nothing to do at those 3 spots, except for just drinking the juice, it's like wow.
Right.
All of a sudden, like you used to be looking forward to this break, and it's not happening. But what I'm saying also is like that translates into everything. Like with our partners, and like you said, all these relationships that we've been told we have to have, and then you have to stick to it, and then like our tribes get smaller. When you're young, you've got all these friends and you hang out and you party together and you've got a tribe. All of a sudden you get older, you get a job, people start falling off, then you get married. Before you know it, it's just you and the wife.
It's reductionist.
And it's reduced, right? And it's not the way we're designed.
No,
like you said, we're supposed to then go, hey, let's go find some food, man. The 4 or 5 of us are going to go walk about for 3 days. I'm not going to see anyone. You come back, you are more in love with your wife or your partners or than ever because you've been away, you come back. And there's a cycle of life that we're missing now because it's been homogenized into a square box so it can be monitored and managed.
Yeah. To feed, and especially to really feel it's gotten worse to be able to feed this industrial machine that we've been in for the last 100 years.
We're just cells in the machine.
Yeah.
And we're being mined. We're a slave nation that's being mined and farmed. And when we realize that, it's like, oh wow, okay, it's not good for your self-esteem.
No, not at all.
You know what I mean? We're wild. We're creative beings. We're here to connect and find meaning in things we create.
Right.
You know, that might be relationships, that might be music, might be whatever the fuck you want it to be, you know. But the point is, we have to express and create that and share it. Why do we have to share it? This is interesting, because if it's not shared, not only does it have no meaning now, it's just like, it's no motivation to do it.
Right.
Why? Because we are all one connected being. You know, there is only one. And, you know, I hate to say it, we're probably later in the podcast where I lost most people, but for those that have dabbled in a bit of DMT, you come to that realization, and it's horrific. For me, it was horrific. Scary, horrific realization. There was only two ways to look at it. Either we're all one connected being, or everyone else is an absolute illusion, and I'm here alone.
Right.
And that just, I died of fear contemplating that.
Sure.
And my analysis at that point was that I've had to go crazy and create all these facets of myself, like Adrian Snary here and everyone else. But I'm that crazy person in those films we watch with Jim Carrey or someone. I don't know. You know what I mean? Sure. It's either that, or it is like, no, we are all a connected fabric, the great human superorganism. And that's what we have to share. We do. And that's why isolation was the greatest torture that Hitler could think of, and those guys. And if you want to come up with a system, you get a German onto it. You know, Germans are so mechanistic thinking; they are superior when it comes to mechanistic thinking and thinking of systems. Right. And when you get those guys on the job of thinking, well, what's the worst way to torture someone? Oh, it's solitary confinement. You know they're onto it.
That's like our idea of the worst possible punishment. We stick someone in solitary confinement.
Solitary confinement, man. You could do a lot of things. Solitary confinement will make someone crazy.
Right. Yeah. And it does. Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing, because you have no meaning.
No.
But you can't die.
Have you ever been to a Blazing Swan or a Burning Man or any of those?
No.
I went to the first Blazing Swan here, and that's the Perth version a couple of years ago. And I think there was about 800 people there. You know, no phones, no computers, just everyone just dressed up, acting like, you know, crazy people, like just having an immense amount of fun. There's music, all kinds, you know. And it was like a 3-day thing, the first one. And like by the time we got to the third day, I was like, oh, this is what it is to be a human being. This is all the shit that I worry about in the real world. You know, like I was at university at the time, like people were worrying about their jobs, all this sort of stuff. We had this opportunity to be together as a group collective in a way that none of us, I'm sure, had ever been before, except for those who'd probably perhaps been to a Burning Man in Nevada. And it was just such an eye-opening experience to me about, okay, I've never felt more like a human being than I have now. The Adrian Snary that lives in an apartment with all the walls, and I love my solitude though, I have to say. I fucking love solitude too, but also love being around people. Yeah. But I do understand myself, and like many of us who live in this Western culture have been fashioned into a lifestyle that's not conducive to total maximum output, creativity. I've really got this thing too, and Terence McKenna, speaking of Terence McKenna again, spoke about it as well, about creativity and how creativity is such an important part of the human experience. I really believe creativity is what's going to save the day. And we could go into that. It's probably a whole nother podcast about where creativity comes from and what facilitates it. But you know, we're sort of being locked into in a way of life where we aren't able to be creative, because that's what the higher ups would fear the most. Yeah,
but it's like, why aren't we creative? It's an interesting question, because to be creative, you have to be vulnerable first. Because it's a creative endeavors come from a blank canvas. They come from the void, and that's the gift of being human. You know, you have a blank canvas. Everyone has one, but the tragedy is most people don't realize that. Sure. But then now you're going to create something that's you, and people are so scared of being judged because it all comes back down to those Freudian principles, man. Your dad didn't see you and validate you as being worthy. Your mum didn't validate you as being lovable. Yeah. People are still running with those subconscious programs, and they fear if they create something and everyone goes, "Oh, that's stupid. Why'd you do that?" That's bad for them, you know. Yeah, definitely. So it's a real sort of conflict for people to try and be creative. Sure. You know, and we've lost that. We haven't been educated. Why? Because as soon as you do art as like a 4-year-old, everyone goes, that's fantastic. But then you get up the academic ladder, people will judge that, critique it.
Sure.
And you've been judged straight away.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's like this expressive part of us, is to create.
Definitely. And we best do that from a blank canvas, like you said. You find, I'm sure you've had the same. It's not when you're like sitting there going, oh, I've got to think of something. Nothing comes. It's when you're like laid back with your feet up, it's like thinking about nothing. Then you'll be, I'll get it in the shower a lot. When I'm in the shower,
you'll get the spark, you'll get the idea, you'll get the fire. See, in my practice, I'm very much into the Chinese medicine principle of the 5-element theory. Because for me,
can you explain the 5 elements?
It's like the 5 elements. Like you see, if you try and like understand your own health, it's far too complex just to talk about it in a singular type of mode. Right. Whereas when you start to have this aspect of a fire goes into earth goes into metal goes into water goes to wood back to fire. Then you've got a cycle of life, right? Okay, so now we can talk about something in a part of a cycle, because everything's always cycling. In the West, we think it's linear and stationary because that's the way we like it, right?
And it helps us to understand it
because
in a way.
Understand it. Right. But the truth of the matter is, there's always going to be some stuff that is by its very essence not knowable. You'll never know it. That's its essence. It's unknowable.
Sure.
And the East is all comfortable with that, but everything in the living realm is cycling, right? And like you said, the spark of the creative idea is the fire. That's the enlightened phase, and that can happen, like you said, you're just about to go to sleep. But quite often, it's a theta wave state. You're in a shower, you're not thinking, right? Boom! It comes from nowhere. But now that creative spark that is born from the enlightenment of the fire has to go into the earth, all right? And now there's different principles that need to nourish that spark. Now, what's the earth about? That's the structure. That's what gives structure to things, right? And so you start to take that idea, and now you've got to start to create it you got to earth it. Then, from there, you refine it into the metal. Now you're sharpening that sword. Now you're going further. It's metallic now. It's got magnetism. It's drawing people towards it, so forth. It's saying to be refined. You're working on it hard. You're crafting it. The metal. Then the next phase, it goes into the water phase. That's the power. But anyway, and then from the water into the wood, and it goes through. Now, creative pursuits can be blocked or stifled at any one of those 5 points.
Sure.
It works on a physical level for health because there's different organs in different elements, and then there's controlling cycles within that. It's fascinating, but the point being that it's a technology based on nature.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So everyone understands if you've got a fire, so that cabinet there is on fire, how do you put it out? Water. Everyone knows you throw water. Okay, so if you've got cardiovascular problems, right? Say you've got your heart, which the heart is with the fire element in this system. So if that's inflamed and hot, then you've got to throw water. And then there's the controlling cycle. Fair enough. The kidneys and the adrenals, the water element here, control that. And so all of a sudden they've got a cycle with the herbs and everything, and it makes sense.
Sure.
The more you study it, the more it just makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
But there's mind states. But this is where people are breaking down, because if you're not creative, a part of you starts to die.
Very much so.
Then you start eating shit food. You see how it all pulls in together again. Yeah. Now, because you're empty inside, because you're not creative, you're still birthing, you're aborting all your creative things. They're like dying inside of you. It's still born. You're not giving birth to these things because maybe it's because you've got all these ideas, but when it comes to actually now working on it, you want to be a stand-up comic. Okay, you got a joke, but now you got to keep writing that joke out. It's not going to just work. You got to craft it. But you can't show up. You got no structure, stability, dependability, soul of the earth, all this earth stuff. So your great idea doesn't take form, doesn't take seed, doesn't grow. And so this is what's happening with a lot of people, because they don't realize that they are part of a cycle. They are by their very nature a cyclic thing. Yeah, right. And it's a shame. I see it all the time in practice, because first question I always ask anyone when I'm consulting as a naturopath is like, what is it that floats your boat? What is it that you love? What gets you excited? Yeah. And I mainly consult women, and women go, my family's like, bullshit. I don't want to hear, my kids. No, forget the kids. what is it that gets you excited?
Right.
Because there's the medicine right there. That inspiration, enthusiasm, that's creating a frequency in your body that's healing. You must nourish that and go after it, because all your learning will come from that, all your inspiration, enthusiasm, all your best friends will come from that.
Yep.
Because you share enthusiasm.
It'd be an attraction thing that comes in.
Absolutely, because it hits magnetism in no time, because after Earth comes the magnetism. And that is, now you're magnetic. You know what I mean? Now you've got some charisma. Now you've got something. People want to talk to you because you've got something going on.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But most people are just dying inside. They're losing their magnetism and they're eating shit food because the only thing stimulating them.
Right.
Sugar, sugar, sugar.
Yeah.
And welcome to the 21st century here. You know, this is what's going on.
Yep.
But like you said, there's a massive movement of people getting primal again. You know, realizing that, holy shit, I'm spending all day in the office just sitting on my ass. I better get out there and throw some kettlebells around or do some explosive exercise.
Sure.
You only have to do like 7 minutes of exercise and that'll just rebuild your whole body.
Yeah, right.
But explosive, 40 seconds,
high
you
intensity.
leave it all on the park. Yeah, you sprint until you're going to vomit.
Yeah.
Then 20 seconds off, sprint until you're going to vomit. That's what you have to do. You have to do like anything longer.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, nice. Yeah.
But it sends the message to the body, okay, you're alive.
Sure.
Let's keep building this thing.
Yeah. Beautiful. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's it. So, you know, we can learn this stuff and it's very simple and it's intuitive. You don't need a degree.
Yeah. And we don't need technology, really. It's all innate within us.
Nah, but technology is a gift that's expressing from us. So us as a collective, we've got no choice in the matter. We are technology.
Right.
And we're watching it unfold. And people will say, oh, I hate it or this or that. It's like, dude, you can't judge it.
Have you heard that saying, we're the reproductive organs of technology?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that saying. I think it's so true. We are.
Is,
I think that's...
we're birthing something into this realm, into this reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, it's working. Computers work exactly the same way as our cognitive
right. Yeah.
mind does.
Yeah.
It runs on the same programs. Our brain holds bits of information. We know there's a capacity of how much bits of information the brain can hold. And, you know, that's why parts of the brain, the real estate, start to bleed into other parts. If you're not using certain parts, you know, other parts merge in there.
Sure.
But they're saying that within 10 to 15 years, we'll have devices where we'll be able to access the cloud and store more memory of our brain in the cloud. This is where we're heading. This is why it's going to get weird.
I like that description. It is definitely going to get weird.
It is.
But I think ultimately it's going to be, in my optimistic heart and mind, it's going to be of benefit to all of us. Yeah. But it's not to say it's going to be easy. However, I think we're heading for somewhere that's going to be a lot more conducive to happiness as human beings than perhaps where we're currently in. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a golden age.
Well, Heath, it is. It definitely is. I think we might wrap up with that.
Done. Yeah,
I think
I'm sweating.
I think that's a great way. We sort of wrapped it up with the, you know, food, technology, innate, you know, personal empowerment. I think is a massive thing. I think
it is.
You know, anything that we've spoken about in this podcast, please, people, just really, you know, implore you to like just do your own research, look into yourself, find out how your body works, especially.
Yeah, believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself, yeah. Belief is just an important thing, really important thing. And yeah, that's it. Faith, belief, not in others or other people or a priesthood, whatever it might be, but just truly in ourselves. And that's really how we're going to sort out the rest of this situation that we find ourselves in. Although life is fucking beautiful, no matter what, anyway.
It's always beautiful.
Yeah. It's been an absolute pleasure, Heath.
Thanks, Adrian.
I learned a lot. I'm definitely going to have to listen back to this podcast again. We're going to have to like pick up on some things that we spoke about were really, really interesting. And but we've got so much more I could speak about.
We didn't really talk about the gut, which would have been interesting.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
That was the one thing you did want to talk about.
Yeah, it was.
But maybe another time. Because that is an interesting topic, you know, it'll help people.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think we just briefly touched on the subject, but if anyone who sort of wanted to know more about that, just can you point? How is there like anything that you have, or can you point people to a direction as far as that information goes?
It's everywhere nowadays. You just Google search microbiome,
right?
You know, and there's plenty of amazing stuff on there.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. Yeah. If you really want to get funky, we spoke about it before, but fecal transplants and things like that, and it's like this really interesting. It's almost like this archaic revival back into how the body works. So yeah, it's really quite amazing what's going on, and I'm just really excited to see what's going to happen in the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
God damn, it's going to get weird, but it's good. We need it as human beings. And I think I will wrap up, but I think that's where I really believe there's a benefit in psychedelics, is it psychedelics, sort of DMT especially, really does fucking prepare you for any and all eventuality. You have a DMT trip, god damn.
Yeah.
Like nothing will shock you, I don't feel, in this real world.
It's a sneaky peek behind the scenes.
It is.
You just got to be with the right people, know the right people, and be smart.
Yeah,
definitely. Because these things aren't to be mucked around with.
Yeah.
But once again, you're not going to go crazy.
You're right.
You know what I mean? It's not to be feared.
No.
This is a part of us. Once again, DMT. We make DMT.
Yeah.
We make it. It's not an external. It's not heroin or something.
Yeah. It's in every plant, every animal.
And if you want to squeeze some out, just check out the Wim Hof breathing method. If you do Wim Hof stuff, and by breath holding and everything else and that type of thing, you'll get a feel for it. Start with that if you're not ready to do it. And I don't blame anyone if they don't want to do DMT.
Sure.
Pretty full on.
Yeah.
But you can get the feeling for it by just doing the breathing techniques.
Right, definitely. That Wim, I really enjoy listening to a couple of different Wim Hof things now. Let's make sure we speak about that in a future podcast. I find that really interesting.
It's powerful.
Yeah, the work we're able to do without any sort of external stimuli, just purely through our breath. It's really quite
I'd suggest people would want to start there.
Right.
Start getting some discipline
meditation
first.
Yeah.
Because that's like, you can, like you said in the 60s, man, people dropping acid and all that. They're fantastic, but where did it end?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is the resurgence now is done on discipline. The people that are leading this movement are buff dudes at the gym. They're exercise fanatics. They're like really intelligent. They got it all going on.
Guys like, I really am enamored by guys. We spoke about Joe Rogan, by Aubrey Marcus. What our good mate Steph's doing. Yeah,
because
very
they know that it's not an academic thing.
No.
The intelligence is found in the body. You got to use the body, move the body, work the body. Mm-hmm. And then get it. But it's all there for the taking. But if you're having a mundane life, stop. The house is on fire, run out. Do not walk out.
Yeah.
If you're depressed, house is on fire, get out of there. You got to start looking at different things like this, breathing techniques that'll change the channel. If you're depressed or you're not happy with your life, you're dialed into channel depression.
Yeah.
It's just like saying to TV, you can just change the dial like that.
Sure. Yeah.
If you know how to breathe and then find a new group of friends.
I came across and we will wrap up, people, I promise. We'll
Keep going.
I came across this quote today. I had to share it on Facebook. It was, I'm paraphrasing here, but it was like, experience may hurt you, but monotony will kill you. Yeah. Like, it's so true. And that really just plays into what you said. Yeah.
Well, we're in danger now of a culture of the living dead.
Right.
Because a lot of people aren't. If you talk to people, what is it that you love? Yeah. The more people that ask that question, the more they get confused by it, is a scary sign.
Right.
You should be able to rattle off 5, 6, 7 things you love.
Yeah. What are you passionate about?
Yeah. What are you excited about at the moment?
Yeah. Nice. Heath, have you got like a website or a way people can get in touch with you at all?
It's the Raw Kitchen, therawkitchen.com.au. Mm-hmm. And our, we've got the Facebook thing going and all that sort of stuff. But on there, we got workshops, lectures, and stuff like that. Yep. And as soon as we get on top of some other stuff, we'll do more and more and more of that to come.
Yeah, nice.
Maybe even a podcast.
Yeah, do it.
Knock one of these off.
We definitely need more and more people doing these. I'd love to see some sort of collective of like.
I should do one at Raw Kitchen, man, on top of the sea container. It'd be fun.
Yeah, do you know what? Maybe I'll speak to you about that later. I've been considering quite a lot lately of doing like a live podcast. Duncan Trussell, have you heard of Duncan Trussell? Yeah, he does them as well every now and again.
Yeah,
like the idea of getting like a whole group of people together and then just having a conversation with someone in a live audience, I find that just fascinating. So. Yeah, maybe we could do our second one like that. We'll see how we go.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much, Heath. It's been an honour, a pleasure. Check out the Raw Kitchen, everyone. God, they do some fantastic fucking food. I love that place so much. Even just if you want to go hang out there, it's really cool. So, please go check it out down there in Fremantle. What street's it on again?
High Street. High Street, right. You can remember that, of course. High Street. And, I'm sure most of you who are watching this at the moment know all about the Raw Kitchen. But until next time, thank you, Heath. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you later.